So, what are the reasons why the Singapore is for the world? Singapore is the main business country. So, what are the reasons which attracts other countries to invest in Singapore or work or do business through Singapore?
You get very discounted, services when you go to government hospitals. Counted off.
But if you are an employee, but if you are running a business, then
No,
if we talk about this age of retirement age, what is the retirement age?
per month rental becomes very less
Okay.
because whatever you're paying back to the government against the rental is very low. There's no capital gain.
No capital gain.
There is no capital gain. So basically, that is the best part of operating in Singapore because you don't, you are investing in shares, you are investing in real estate. In real estate, there is a stamp duty.
So what about opportunities there? Job opportunities or business opportunities? Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome back to our podcast again. So now again we are moving to the next country. We'll be discussing today Singapore. We'll be discussing all about Singapore, whether it is tax, whether it is job opportunities, living standard, cost of living. So we have our expert speaker. She is from Singapore from last more than 1.5 decades. She's staying there, and she's the current chairman of ICI Singapore chapter, and she is the former president of Indian Association in Singapore, Women Association in Singapore. So let's talk directly to Miss Anu. She is our guest today. So welcome, Anu, to our podcast. Thank you so much for taking out time to.
Thank you so much, Ishan, for having me here.
Yeah. So I would really appreciate if you can just give a brief about you and then talk about Singapore.
So I'm a chartered accountant for sure, and very proud chartered accountant. Really, it's a very precious qualification that I hold. Along with that, I've been a corporate finance professional, Ishan, for the longest part, like nearly 28 years. I was on the corporate finance. I then decided to sort of hang my boots on professional front, but that doesn't mean that I quit working. In 2012, nearly 14 years ago, we moved to Singapore. And while I came to Singapore, I was working, I was enjoying my work a lot. But I saw this as a land of opportunity. So I started working on a startup. And I used that opportunity to also form a trading company and work over there. And I enjoyed that work. And along with that, I'm a very active volunteer in the Singapore landscape.
Very nice. You're running your own trading company
Yes.
there. So
Yes.
very nice. Being chartered accountant, you worked 28 years in corporates and
Yeah.
then you moved to your own.
Yes.
And how it is? What's the experience? How is the experience right now?
Experience is good, actually being, when you're working, actually my entire journey when I worked in corporate also, I had this beautiful experience where it felt like I was an entrepreneur because I worked in organizations and when you're in the finance field, so
Correct.
technically, you're owning the entire business. You sort of feel married to the balance sheet, and when it's moving up and down,
Yes.
your heart moves up and down with it. So that was definitely one space. But moving into your own business now, really the blood pumps and the heart moves with every time when some duty is announced somewhere in the world or some rate cuts happen, and then your product takes a dip or a rise from whatever you have decided and you have done the trade in. So it is an exciting journey, but I'm loving it so far. Excited about what lies ahead.
Great. So when you started this?
I started this in 2022.
Okay. And you are making money in startup?
Yes.
Oh, that's the point. When you start any business, it takes time.
We are making money.
Very nice.
We've started small. We're taking baby steps. We have big dreams, but we want to take baby steps
Yes,
to reach
yes.
there.
That's the way.
So yeah, we're not taking the big plunge. And so far we are bootstrapped. So we are not really.
You're putting your own money.
We are putting our own money. So nobody is really on breathing down our neck for performance.
Oh, great, great. So we talk about Singapore. So how you landed in Singapore?
As most of the people, I landed as a trailing spouse.
Okay.
So I followed my husband. He was a banker, and he is a banker. Sorry, and I followed him, and then I was very keen for my daughter. My husband and I, we were very keen that my daughter studies in Singapore. We were in Mumbai prior to that. And while we love the education in Mumbai, somewhere Singapore quite enticed us. And we had thought that when she grows up a little older, maybe I'll move in with her to Singapore and ensure that she studies here. God has other plans, and my husband got a transfer
To Singapore.
to Singapore, and yeah, and then there was no thinking. Like when he got the opportunity, we immediately decided that we are moving because we already were having those plans. So yeah, that's how we moved here, and it's been very exciting living in Singapore for this.
Great. So, if we talk about quality of life, I'm sure that it must have a good quality. What's your take?
Definitely. See, in Mumbai, while I was living in Bandra West and my office was in Bandra East, still it was a good 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, at least commute from work to home. Or otherwise, we would sit at office to ensure that the peak hours are over, and then, you would take the commute. So that was for starters, when you have a small child back at home and when you want to work full time, that's the biggest thing. You can't do much on the work life balance at all when you're there. And of course, the demand and the competition that you see in the Indian landscape from the working aspect, definitely there's a lot of competition. So
Correct.
lot of out there. But when you come to Singapore, you see here, the ease of transportation is there. So definitely people, when we came here and we could actually return home by 6:30, 7 p.m. We got time to really go for those walks, get into fitness, think about doing things for ourselves on weekdays.
Very nice. Means
So
there is a quality of life.
there is definitely a quality of life.
And if we talk about cost of living, because you
Cost of
stay in
living,
Mumbai.
yes. So, see, I would say cost of living is definitely higher. But when you look at, if I'm talking of a salaried employee, when you're really looking at, income. So when you are earning in India, you are nearly paying 39-40% of your income goes into your taxation.
Hmm.
Singapore, that comes to average 17%. So first and foremost, you save on taxation as an individual over there, right? But and then cost of living is definitely higher. But what is higher? Higher is the housing when you're really looking at it. How higher is when you're looking at acquiring a car. And
Car is expensive.
car is absolutely like sort of initial days it's not affordable because they have a concept of a COE. So for to own a car, you nearly pay as much as the car value, or sometimes much more. So, for example, let us say if you're looking at a car which is going to cost you around 20 lakhs in India, that car can cost you anywhere between 1 crore to 1.25 crores in Singapore.
But it is 5 times,
Five,
four
five to
times
six
higher.
times, and it depends on the car because there's an import duty for every car which is much, much higher. And then there is the COE.
Why they are doing so?
Because it's a small, the land parcel there is very small. That's to control the number of cars and vehicles on the road. See, the Singapore government is very well planned. They actually have, like, whenever a building is coming up or whenever they're doing any infrastructure development, they are very well planned. Everything, like, if you go, there is a urban development or a building over there. If you go, you can see their plan for the next 20 to 50 years ahead on what building are they planning, which land parcel will go, where they are going to, extend into the sea. So they're very, very clear on things like that.
Very nice. So, I've been to Singapore last year, so it was actually, we could have seen that, we could have feel with that, the level of planning, and there's a lot of cycle path or walk path.
So so they like when suppose a building is coming up or they're building up a condominium or a public, the housing development board buildings, they very clearly plan around it of how the person will walk to the bus stop, where is the nearest bus stop, where is the nearest MRT, what are the amenities in that area, how is the water line, pipeline, electricity, everything. So they are, because Singapore, there's nothing which is hanging above the uh, land. So there are no pipes above. Everything is underground. So they plan that very well. And and because they plan it, they face, except for flooding, whenever there's a lot of rains, which happens in Singapore, no other things that really trouble.
Flooding is there.
not as severe as how it happens in Indian cities. Like I've been in Mumbai, I've lived in Mumbai for 17 years and faced the worst of floods. No, not as bad, but yes, life comes for a standstill for a couple of hours.
Couple of hours. Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Okay. And if we talk about overall tax structure, what is the individual tax and
So
corporate
tax
tax?
structure is very simple. They have the slabs kind of a system here. But the point is that, taxation is, as I told you, average taxation is around 17%, which is on the higher end if your salary is 300,000 above. Otherwise, if you're below that, it can go up to higher 22, 24% also, depending on if you're on the higher pay scales. But I'm talking of an average salary out there.
So is there any slab you are saying?
Yes.
So what slab starts from which slab? Like, the rate start from which slab?
No, so what happens there is that it is a percentage. If you're having like up to $5,000, then I mean, honestly, I'm not completely on point on the slab right now, so I will not really address that, Ishant. But it is completely
It's a
slab.
slab wise
It
and
is a slab,
maximum
maximum, yeah,
17%, which goes to
which
some higher percentage
percentages.
based on the your slab.
Yes.
That's it. So it's not much tax.
So no, it's not. It's not as it's one of the most tax effective countries. I mean, of course, the Middle East. After Middle East, Singapore is considered one of the
Now
most
in Middle East also there are taxes.
that they are
Yeah.
applying taxes now.
Yes, yes. And what about if we talk about this? I mean to say VAT or GST, indirect tax.
That is where. So they have a standardized VAT process. So all across the country, what they really do is till I think 2 years ago, we had a 7% GST, as they call it, goods and services tax. Then they increased it to 8%. And then since last year, it's 9%. But it is standard across everything.
So it is same. It is
It-
not like this product.
No,
will
no,
have
no, no,
this-
no product. Wherever, so GST is very simple. If you have a certain value of turnover, after that, you have to charge GST.
Okay, okay.
So it is like if you are just a new vendor and your services are below $1 million in turnover, not in net profit, but in turnover, then there's no GST. But
It's
if
70 lakhs in Indian currency, it is
yeah,
70 lakhs.
yes, approximately.
Correct.
And then after that, you have to charge GST to your customer.
And what about capital assets? Capital gain? Is
There's
there
no capital gain.
no capital gain?
There is no capital gain. So basically, that is the best part of operating in Singapore because you don't, you are investing in shares, you're investing in real estate. In real estate, there is a stamp duty. So there's additional stamp duty if you buy an asset and sell it before 4 years, then you have to pay additional stamp duty.
Okay.
So there is ABSD, but and then there are different slabs. For example, if you're a citizen, then if you buy an apartment in Singapore, your stamp duty will be 3%. If you're a PR, then you're
Okay.
paying 13%, 10% plus 3%.
Okay.
But if you are a non-PR or non-Singaporean, you pay 63%.
That much higher.
They have just introduced that. That is only they call it the cooling measures.
So just to make sure that
You
get
yes.
PR first and then you take property.
Yes.
Okay. And so what about opportunities there? Job opportunities or business opportunities?
See, Singapore government has started really tightening the environment. Is that like in most other countries in the world, what is really happening is they want to ensure that the opportunity is first given to an to a Singaporean, and it is not just given to a migrant. So they have set up rules where every job advertisement has to be placed on a government portal.
Okay, it has to be placed.
It has to be placed on a government portal, and then there has to be ensured that the right set of candidates are shortlisted. And before you actually, before they hire from somebody from outside, they have to ensure that the ratio is maintained.
Okay.
So every organization is given a ratio on how many Singaporeans versus how many foreigners can you get into the company. But if it's a unique talent, then definitely they will allow. So it depends on multiple criterias, but it is getting challenging. Getting a sponsor to do the EP, employment pass, is getting challenging.
So means employment pass is a difficult one. And what about business?
There are entry passes. So if one wants to do a business, then you can contact the EDB, and you can contact the government there, and you can come up with your project plan. And then with that, you'll have to put in some investments for sure. But if you were,
It's a big investment or it's
it is a big investment.
okay. Oh,
It is a big investment that you will have to look into. But otherwise, for example, let's say if one of the chartered accountants are really looking at going and setting up a firm there, that won't easily be possible, because what they really look for in that situation is that when you are coming to Singapore, you have to form a company. You have to find one local director.
resident director.
Resident director has to be a Singaporean or PR. So no, that's why I did not use the word local. I use the word local. Resident could be an employment pass holder also, but for this purpose, they really want a Singaporean or a PR, permanent resident.
Okay.
You have to choose one of the from there. They have to be the local director, and you yourself, of course, can be a director in your own company, and then you operate.
Okay. So, what are the reasons why the Singapore is for the world? Singapore is the main business country. So what are the reasons which attracts other countries to invest in Singapore or work or do business through Singapore?
So there are three things that I think is very good in Singapore. First and foremost is it's a corruption-free country. So basically, when you're working with Singapore, you know that everything is clean. You're not worried about, being fleeced or being cheated. Second is the policies that Singapore government has is very, very transparent. You are not dealing, it is, you're not dealing with multiple level of bureaucracy. It can happen, it cannot happen. You're not like this. There is a way around that you can deal with things.
Whatever is there,
It is there. So either it happens or it does not happen.
So what is my in fact my experience is the government is very approachable. So
Government is very
for
approachable.
example, if we talk to IRAS, your Inland Revenue
Yes.
Department, they are approachable. Even if I give a call to them on their number, they will clear all
And
doubts
they will give you the answers
Uh,
very
very
transparently.
transparently.
So they will, so for example, let's say like there was once my own case where I thought they had charged me something extra. I actually just made one call. The person realized that no, it was, they had misread something, some deductions, because what I'll tell you, the beauty of Singapore is if you're a regular salaried employee, they will calculate basis what your company gives as a return. They will calculate your income tax, and they will give you an option to just click the button and say that everything that they have filed is correct. So it's a self-filing,
Okay.
which India is also getting somewhere close to that now slowly. So in my case, what happened is there was some deduction which did not come into the system.
Okay.
And they just went ahead, processed it. And when I called, they just simply sorted it out, and it was done so seamlessly. So no assessing officer sitting, no multiple layers of there, no
only
tax
solution
consultant,
oriented.
no tax consultant that you need to take with you. So those things are really not really much needed.
So it's a solution oriented team.
Yes.
They give you a solution.
Correct.
So that's really good. And from employee sides, you are talking about employees. Is there any provident fund or uh, requirement something?
Okay. So when you're a Singaporean or PR, then there is a CPF, which is slab based also. Now, don't ask me the slabs, I don't currently remember them, but there's a CPF, slab based CPF, which has to be mandatory deducted. So, there is a minimum, and then some companies give the maximum. So, same like India, there is a government contribution, there's a company contribution, there's yours, it gets deducted from your income also. So, that is mandatory for salaried employees, but only Singaporeans and PRs.
Okay.
But for employment pass holders, it is not mandatory. So what some companies do is that their CPF contribution they add to the employee's salary, and some companies just don't.
Okay.
And under your the insurance, government insurance, a small part of it is undertaken under the CPF also.
So this insurance you're talking about, is there any facility which government is giving? Like in some countries, education is free, medical is free, transport is free.
Nothing is free. Nothing is free.
Okay.
So
because
what
the tax is less.
because the tax is less, so nothing is free. But I'll come to that. I'll answer that for you. So, but what really happens is because from your CPF, you get very discounted, services when you go to government hospitals.
Okay, you get a discount.
Discounted
But if you're an employee, but if you are running a business, then
No, if you're it is not, it's nothing to do with employee or it is PR and so your CPF will only be deducted if you're an employee. But self CPF, you can, you can top up your money on your CPF also.
but
That's
that is
a
again for employee.
employee also, even business also we can do. Like I draw my own salary from my business, right? So then, as I'm an employee in my own business, and therefore I can cut CPF and I can deposit that, right? So it is always possible.
Okay. And if we talk about, this age of retirement age, what is the retirement age?
That in Singapore, is
Like,
flexible.
okay.
They will talk about 65 being the retired age, but if you really go to food courts, you go to taxi drivers, they are working till very late age in life. So, because with old age sustainability, I mean, you have to sustain yourself. So that becomes a problem. And therefore, you will find, so corporate as such, it is no hard cast things. People do get, extensions.
So, and what are the attitude of people? Are they laid back? So they are working very specific on the working hours and they are not so hard. Like Indian people are very hardworking. So,
See, the competition of performance is not there.
okay.
In India, what really happens is that you are always competing, you're fighting that promotion and all that. So Singaporean, there are two kinds of people. Definitely the ones who are very, very ambitious, like the Indians, and they will do everything to succeed. But then there are people who will be very happy with what they have because their needs are fulfilled.
Hmm.
See, because I'll tell you what, when you talk of cost of living, sorry, I'm going back. Cost of living is very high for an Indian, migrant person who wants to live in a condominium. But if you're a Singaporean, you can take a flat in HDB and literally the government subsidizes that for you. And when that is getting subsidized, your per month rental becomes very less
Okay.
because whatever you're paying back to the government against the rental is very low, or against your interest and your AMI is very low, which is not possible for non-Singaporeans.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then after that, what really happens for Singaporeans also is their kids, when they go to school, they have the local schools are world class. The Singapore
And
local
the
schools, and it
education
is
is,
education is world class, very competitive
but
education,
is it economical or is it
very economical for Singaporeans.
okay?
So technically, a Singaporean, the cost of living for a Singaporean in Singapore is not very high.
For a PR holder, you are
For PR, it is average, okay, still okay. But for people who have to pay the school fees of their kids in international schools, for people who have to live in a condominium at high rental values, that is where the cost. And if you have to own a car, those are the three places where it becomes very expensive.
very expensive. So otherwise, it is
It is for a Singaporean, it is not. And then ever since COVID, the number of relief vouchers that the government keeps on subsidizing, I would be saying like every Singaporean at least gets $1,000 to $2,000 every year.
in COVID also. Have they given any
Yes, they are only to Singaporeans, not even to permanent residents, only to Singaporeans. But to Singaporeans even who are living outside Singapore.
Okay, outside Singapore also.
Yes, they have given, but to every Singaporean.
So if we talk about rate of interest, what's the rate of interest on loans and all?
It is, if you
Is it so expensive or that you
It
cannot?
is not. It is not as expensive as India, but basically, even when you're doing savings accounts over there, it's not very.
You don't get
You
interest.
don't get any
So in
interest.
deposit also you don't get it, and
Yeah.
loans also it is not.
It is not as high, but it's getting more expensive these days.
Okay. So on a closest sides, what is there government giving any subsidies for businesses or anyone?
If you're bringing any interesting, innovative business,
Hmm.
and you can really talk to Enterprise Singapore, or you can talk to EDB, and you can bring in very exciting things, government will definitely have a lot of options. Because if you're doing a run of mill business, Like, every other person will come and want to do a corporate service, or somebody will want to come and do, the regular trading like I'm doing. Then these kind of options may or may not be available. But if you're really doing a lot of, if you're bringing in technology, new age technology, you're bringing in innovation, you're bringing in innovation ideas or whatever, government has a lot of schemes.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anuradha, for your time. Thank you so much. It was really insightful for all of us and, of course, for our viewers also. Thank you so much for coming to our podcast.
Thank you so much. It was lovely speaking to you. I hope I made some
Yeah.
good insights.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.